Yet another study has been released verifying what both market rate and affordable housers have said. Zoning is not the issue, financing is. The study calculates that it could be a century before YIMBY deregulation policies actually have an impact on our affordability crisis. Propel has heard from developers what they need to fund their projects and still keep rents accessible to the majority of San Francisco. We've also heard from housing advocates about innovative funding models for affordable social housing, things like the luxury transfer tax, and the consequences when those policies are undermined and repealed. The luxury transfer tax isn't the only common sense policy the city has adopted but yet to actually implement. There are city programs right now designed to fund workforce and middle-income housing. They're just waiting to be implemented.
In 2024, the Board of Supervisors unanimously passed the Workforce Housing and Middle Income Revenue Bond Programs, or WHAMI. With a state mandate to create 46,000 new affordable housing units by 2031, but no plan for how to fund them, then Board President Aaron Peskin looked to the untapped potential of revenue bonds, which don't require voter approval. Who lives in workforce housing? Typically, it's working households that make too much to qualify for low-income affordable housing, but not enough for market rate. Think essential workers like educators, healthcare workers, first responders, bus drivers, and even artists who make the city run and thrive. They're making about 120% of the area median income or less, and many are raising their kids in San Francisco. Here's how it works. WHAMI allows for two different types of tax-exempt bonds to be issued via the Board of Supervisors on a project-by-project basis. The first are governmental purpose bonds, commonly used for city infrastructure, but able to be used to fund housing. The land is publicly owned and tax-exempt, but can be developed and managed by nonprofit or for-profit developers. The second type is a 501c3 bond, used to finance housing on a property where a nonprofit already has site control. They are also tax-exempt on units up to 80% of the area median income, in service of their charitable purpose to, quote, lessen the burdens of government. The city's own analysis has shown that the additional subsidy from the bond revenue can fund middle-income workforce housing. With higher interest rates, in fact, it's one of the only ways to achieve this critical public subsidy. Developers can choose from a menu of rent options. Number 1, set the project rents up to 120% of the area median income. Number 2, set them at an average of 100% AMI across the entire project. Or number 3, set them at 15% below market rate rents. This provides flexibility for developers trying to create a package that pencils. WHAMI also restricts future rent increases, which is a key barrier to long-term housing stability, and streamlines the application process for would-be residents applying to live there. L37 developer Eric Tao wants to take this approach even further by tying a property tax exemption to middle-income housing that averages 100% of AMI as a public good that will continue to generate a modest return that can then be reinvested into future affordable housing.
So is there a third solution? There is one that we're calling the new middle-income alternative. Sometimes I call it the Goldilocks alternative. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's just right. Cost of a building, whether it's low income, market rate, or middle income, is not that significantly different. Low income, you have too many layers. Market rate, they depend on high profits. That means rents come and go when they go up and down. You'll see booms and busts. So the idea of the new middle income alternative, it borrows from both. One of the benefits of low income is you don't pay property taxes. That saves you on your costs. So you can generate more debt. Market rate pays property taxes. So they can't generate as much debt as a middle income that's generating middle income rents. So what we can do is, with the greater amount of debt financeable with no property tax, reducing your cost of reducing your income so you can service more debt, you can find an investor. Hopefully it's a smaller, it's not a Wall Street investor, but it could be. So Wall Street investors do invest at 7% or 5% returns. It's called a risk mitigated return, something like treasuries or bonds or other types of investments where they don't need 20% return. If we can create an industry and a mindset that says, hey, investing in middle income housing is not only like investing in a bridge or an airport, like infrastructure where the returns are much lower than market rate housing, because it's a necessary component, like an airport, like a bridge, like a street, like a sewer, or whatever infrastructure that helps a city or civic community function. That return will be guaranteed because we always will need police persons, fire persons, workers, people who are keeping the lights on in a city. And we'll charge them workforce housing, slightly above middle income, and that will generate a return. And based on assuming a modest 3% rent growth, this is the reason why it's called social housing, because it's sustainable. In this scenario, the money just keeps recycling, making a modest 5 to 7% return. So it's satisfying the municipal investor or their more charitable investor who still wants a return. So they're still getting, on their $10 million, they're making $500,000 to $700,000 a year, which is still making money, and also comparable to, again, investments in infrastructure, which I would argue middle income housing, workforce housing is part of the infrastructure to sustain a society. And then they can redeploy and continue, hopefully, this Goldilocks, this just right solution for middle income.
Unfortunately, neither WHAMI nor the Goldilocks approach have been implemented by the city yet. Developers have actually approached City Hall and approached the Mayor's Office of Housing to use the WHAMI program, but the city has yet to deliver on the revenue bond program that it unanimously adopted. And as for the Goldilocks framework, well, that would require the city's assessor recorder to waive the possessory interest, or PI tax, on projects that it deemed to have a legitimate public interest benefit. Like housing essential city workers sustainably. The clock is ticking on 46,000 new affordable units that we need to have in the pipeline by 2031, all to the tune of $19 billion that the city doesn't know how it will secure. We've just talked about two solutions executive leadership in the city could be implementing today, instead of rolling back voter-approved transfer taxes on luxury office towers and mega mansions.